MIDDLEKAUFF.
Hey, babes.
Welcome to the show. Hello, everybody. We are streaming on this Tuesday afternoon. Is the live stream on YouTube? If you're watching it live, what's up? If you're listening to the podcast, it's great to have you. If you're listening to the podcast, especially if you just happen to be listening along on iTunes right now, go to iTunes, Apple Podcast. Leave us a review, 5 stars. Leave us a question in that review. Tell us your favorite bar as well, and get in the Haberman and MIDDLEKAUFF mailbag.
Yep. Get in it now. Do that. Mailbag. Also, No Kid Hungry. NoKidHungry.org/ham. Give yourself a little, if you could, if you would. We've donated 10 grand. Tito's, Puesto, another 7. I think we were up over 18, so you guys are already over 1,000 in your donation. So if we're shooting for 25,000, I don't want to have to call our big money boosters to get us there, but I will if I have to. NoKidHungry.org/ham. Help us out trying to make a difference this holiday season. Happy Hanukkah. We want to make sure every kid's fed on Hanukkah.
Yeah. Hanukkah's over, but we
Hanukkah's over?
Yeah, it was 7 days. That's all we get.
Oh, yeah, it started last Sunday.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Hanukkah
I sent out 2 happy
by.
Hanukkahs today.
Did you really? Oh,
yeah.
Better late than never. I definitely subscribe to that. But like John said, we have a lot of fun on the show. We've been afforded the opportunity to do this show thanks to, we started it, but you guys consuming it, and we appreciate that.
Yeah. We deserve credit, but, without you, we're nothing.
Well, but like you said, because people consume it, because advertisers come on the show, because we make money on the show, we're able to turn around and donate some of that money. And $10,000 was that chunk. And then Tito's brought in the 5, and Puesto added 2, and No Kid Hungry is an incredible cause. So please, if you're watching, click on the link. It's NoKidHungry.org/ham. The link is in the YouTube. The link is in the podcast. And just give what you can. Every little bit helps, and we're trying to get it to 25,000. A single dollar can provide up to 10 meals for kids. NoKidHungry.org/ham.
Keep chopping wood.
I do have an announcement to make. We have on the show today a Shave It or Save It.
Oh.
So we need submissions. The only way you can do this is if some of you step out and go, you know what? I don't know if I should shave my head or save my hair. We're here to help. Submit. Send us DMs. We'll tell you more about that later because we've got Travis, John. Travis, who is a service member, a member of our military, who, I think is thinking about getting out and growing his hair out. And we're here to discuss whether or not that should happen for him. So we'll get to that.
We love our servicemen and women. They fabric of society. Did you ever decide to sign the contract for your hair?
I did.
You signed the contract.
We have not signed the contract, but I accepted the offer. Yep.
Gotcha. You haven't Venmoed him the 2 G's yet.
No, I think we'll do that Wednesday during the next cut.
Gotcha. You're going to do it.
I'm going to do it. I have many sleepless nights over it, John, but I'm going to do it. 4-year contract, unlimited haircuts for those of you who didn't catch that story.
And no tip, right?
And no tips. Yeah.
Like you say, hey, listen, you can't give me a weird look. Like, no tips. It's 2,000. We're good.
We had a discussion about it, and yeah. Brad on the stream, by the way, says, Guy, what is the No Kid Hungry Fund 2? So so there's no confusion. No Kid Hungry is a national foundation. And what they do is they provide free meals for families, communities, kids in need. They provide guidance for schools. They provide grants for schools who need to find a way to feed kids. And so since March of 2020, the school and community grantees in the state of California have received over $12.5 million in grants. It's over 200 million meals to children and families. Families can go to the website, No Kid Hungry, and find free meals in their area, in their communities. So that's the deal. Click on that link. You can find out more information about No Kid Hungry. This is a legitimate, major charitable organization that works with schools and nonprofits and local governments to improve programs, to launch programs, to make sure that kids get the healthy food that they need. So that's what that's.
Yeah, I just think that, most people, I mean, I don't care where you are, once you are economically stable, you take so many things for granted. I mean, I just did today. I worked out and then I got some lunch at Kinder's. Just got myself a chicken sandwich, and you just don't even think about it. love to eat. So do you. So do most people. But it's like a lot of people aren't afforded that luxury, and it's just something during these times that kind of should hit you down deep if you can make a difference.
Yeah, Brad, hell yeah, put me down for 50. Brad, thank you. Thanks,
you the man.
We appreciate that. That's generous, and thank you. That's great.
Appreciate you.
All right, John. This show is sponsored by Tito's handmade. Well, I got to clean this hat off. Tito's handmade vodka. It is the premier #1 vodka in, as Mario Cristobal would say, Estudios Unidos, the United States of America. Did I say that right?
Yeah, status Estudios Unidos.
I just had to say it fast, so
you just got to say it quick. Yeah. Tito's, make yourself a Tito. I feel like a Tito soda right now. It's only 2:40. It's 5:00 somewhere. #1 vodka in America. Wherever you are this holiday season, have your cocktails. Take us pictures. Tag us in the deal. Tito's loves it. We love it. Instagram, Twitter. You guys know the drill. Go, your local store, your local CVS, you name it. Bevmo, Safeway, Albertsons, I think is owned now by Safeway, and go get yourself a bottle of Tito's. Price point's incredible. It's hard to beat. It's actually unbeatable when you factor it in against their competition, and it's great.
And when you factor in the quality, it's #1.
Quality.
It is #1. Tito's handmade vodka. So many great options, recipes. What I'm trying to say for the holidays, and you fill the bowl at the holiday party with the Tito's, and you will have a very, very popular drink. Go to Tito's. Go get your Tito's wherever you get your beverages. 6 times distilled in copper pots, not columns. It's more labor intensive. Yes, we actually have it on the calendar right now to go sample some Tito's around some different locations around the Bay Area, John. Although I already know it's going to taste like fantastic. Distilled and bottled in Austin, Texas. 40% alcohol by volume, namely 80 proof. Crafted to be savored responsibly. Podcast also brought to you by MyBookie.ag. Promo code HAM and the #1, where MyBookie will match your first deposit up to $1,000. They'll also, no, that's what they'll do. You can use the promo code HAM1. If you accept the bonus, you have to bet the full amount before you withdraw funds. You can also decline the bonus, but HAM1, let them know that we sent you. We have been executing the lock of the week. Sorry, were you going to say something?
No, we've just lost $2,000 in 7 days.
When you say it like that, we had won 11 in a row plus a 14 parlay. So 15, some would call it. We've lost 4 in a row.
Yeah, we're still, I think we have like $3,300 or $3,250 or something.
I'm not shaking, John. Maybe a little rattled, but my confidence.
We've been very, very cold. I mean, we had an awful weekend. We'll get into the Monday Night Football game. But I would just like to get a winner. And the first game that I saw that kind of resonated with me, and I watched the Steelers-Raven game on Monday on Game Pass. Just a little quick, paying attention to it. Not super locked in, but definitely the fourth quarter. The Ravens were leading going into the fourth quarter 7-3. And Lamar has been a little off this season, but like Harbaugh, Lamar versus the Browns, I'll just like taking my chance. That's the way I philosophically looked at that.
Yeah.
Harbaugh, Lamar versus guy. Do you know that Mark Andrews? Now it was not the easiest pass. The Ravens could have won that game against the Pittsburgh Steelers. They drove the field, scored, and Harbaugh just always puts those 2 fingers up, go for 2, as Kyle said. He's always like, we're gonna go for 2 too. You see that?
I did. I did see he didn't delve too deep into it because, as he said, it's all a hypothetical. But you texted me during the game, I think Kyle should go for 2 if they score here. And I think he would have. I do think you're right. I think you were on it early. I think he would have done it.
Well, do you have any issue with, because I'm not saying it's controversial, because Harbaugh now has been going for 2 and going for it on 4th down. I'd say pretty consistently with Lamar. I on the road in that situation. So they basically get the ball back under 2 minutes and drive the field and score a touchdown.
Yeah.
On the road, 10 seconds left against the Steelers.
Yeah.
You have the best kicker Major League history.
What's your question? Do I have an issue with what?
Well, do you just kick the field goal, go to overtime, or do you go for 2 right there?
No, I mean, I think about that team has been in so many close games. Like, I don't think the Ravens are very good. I mean, 1-point game with Pittsburgh, 6-point win over Cleveland, 3-point win over Chicago, 12-point win over Miami, 12-point loss to Miami, 3-point win over Minnesota, blowout loss to Cincy, blowout win over the Chargers, 1-score win over Indy, blowout win over Denver, 2-point win over Detroit, 1-point win over Kansas City, and a 1-score loss to the Raiders. I mean, they just like my thing with them. If we took them as our lock, I think if I'm just evaluating, here's what we did the last. My pick Saturday night, I pushed you to take the SC game. Part of that was value. Like one thing I was thinking about is like I would take the Ravens and the points, not necessarily take the Ravens to win just because they're whatever they are plus 155. Like forget about value. I just want to win. Winning is how you stack up, even if it's not as good a value as like a plus 155.
No, but I do think value matters. Like it's the good way to look at it. Like I do think the Ravens, anytime you get them plus points with Lamar Jackson, like to me, looking back, and everyone did this, right? How did we all miss? Because let's face it, most people were terrified to bet on Alabama. And I think it always happens like after recessions. It's like, God, I could have bought 7 homes for $300,000. Well, no, at the time, 99% of people were scared, right? Oh my God, I could have got this stock for $5. It's now $200. Well, yeah, every stock was in the tank. So most people did not, right? Most people that did not bet on Alabama, now granted, different than like a crazy economic circumstance. If you had watched Alabama this year, like they were just, it didn't quite look the same, right? So it's easy to play that game. My issue with the San Diego State-Utah State game, one, they had a COVID issue, and I felt pretty good about
22 players did not play.
That's a lot. And the SC thing, you know, do you think looking back, would you have been confident if you knew he was interviewing for the Fresno State job as well as coaching that game? Do you see Bruce Feldman said that he was in the mix?
Who was? Dante Williams?
Yeah, Fresno was interested in Dante Williams, which I call bullshit on. Not that Bruce is not a great reporter. I have a hard time seeing that one.
I did not know that. No, I would have. The whole thing.
What about when I told you they were late to practice after we'd already placed the bet?
That's terrified me. The whole thing was bad logic. I overthought it. I tried to get too creative with like, oh, Cal doesn't need this game anymore, and SC. It's like, what? Why would I trust SC on the road at 8 p.m. in the cold at Cal in front of nobody? Why? Why would I do that? So it was just bad. I tried to be smart. I made it too complicated, I think. Because
you've yet to be wrong about Cal.
That's right. That's right. I did say that. And I've been right on Cal a lot this year, but I wasn't right that night. I give Cal a lot of credit for showing up and playing that game when it wasn't for bowl eligibility. You know, maybe I underrated how much it still means to guys at Cal when you play USC and how much you want to win that game. And maybe I underrated Cal wanted to play that game for weeks because those guys just want to play football. SC hasn't looked like it wants to play football more often than not when I watch them this year.
Like 3 years.
You know, I think what I did was what I see happen a lot on Twitter. Just because you can make a logical argument that your debate teacher would be like, logical argument, great points, A+, doesn't mean it's right. A lot of people make a lot of arguments because you have to make a bunch of arguments right now to get attention. Doesn't mean you're making the right decision. Sometimes the thing that gets all the attention is like an eight-page presentation when really all you need is like 2 bullet points. So I overthought that one. It was stupid. It was I hope I learned my lesson from that. But time will tell if I did. I don't know.
Yeah, that's why we bet on an NFL game this week, and we just take a team, to me, that you feel comfortable can win. Like, honestly, the Ravens and the Niners both, to me, fall under the same umbrella.
Yeah.
You give yourself a chance to win every game. And we didn't really – the San Diego State one was weird, but we didn't really give ourselves a chance with the SC thing. Like, it was kind of a Hail Mary. You bet on the Niners getting points. Definitely bet on Lamar and Harbaugh. To me, why I'd go Lamar Harbaugh even over Kyle, like their history as winners for 4 running years is pretty strong. So it's just like you just take your chances with those 2 guys in the foxhole. Like I am betting
plus
on
2.5
part of Jimmy Garoppolo. Do you feel good about having your money in Jimmy Garoppolo's hands? Though I do like the value.
Look, we have our fun with Jimmy, and he is what he is, but he doesn't scare me off from Niners +1 against Cincinnati. He's going to throw a pick.
Burrow's banged up.
Emmanuel Mosley out.
Yeah, I mean, Josh Norman was going to lock down Jamar Chase no matter what, so it doesn't really matter.
Can Jamar Chase run, John? I mean, is he even fast?
He's not slow.
So I actually think that's value. Are you saying Baltimore +2.5 or Baltimore money line +115?
Well, I mean, I do either. I mean, again, I do like the Niners game as well. Those were the 2 games that I was like, I like what that's cooking.
we've stayed away from that game unless we love it. We've stayed away from the Niners in like critical spots, I think, just for our own sanity.
Pretty big week for them though. Like they can't fall to 6-7 and feel good about their playoffs chances. They still have a Thursday night game. You know, this is a little bit feels a little Ramsey, where it's like this is a big spot for you playing a team that has a good record and has some talent, but also hasn't proven shit. I don't hate them +1. I feel good about either one of those games.
Yeah, I do. I feel good about the Niner game. To me, what I like about the Ravens game is just that it's not the Niner game. And you are getting a couple more points, but I like
we can let it marinate for a couple days.
okay,
We're in no rush.
Let's get. So I think part of this conversation is also about what happened on Monday night. We had lost a couple of bad college games, and so we said let's do an NFL game. Let's do Monday Night Football. Let's try and salvage the weekend.
$1,500 in 12 hours.
Yeah, that's right.
Which I loved. I mean, I like. Don't get me wrong.
It made money to me. It made the Monday night game 10 times better than it was, and I loved the Monday night game.
Same.
It was such a great, high enjoyment. We lost to a team that threw 3. We'll talk about Mac and all that, but what was the emotional roller coaster like for you? I did get a little when New England, not even forced a fumble, when the Bills fumbled, and then New England just pounded the rock all the way down the field. It did put me on my heels a little bit, I got to admit. But then I saw Josh Allen throwing some bullets, and I was like, okay, this will be fine. This will be fine.
Yeah, I mean, I do think Josh Allen is a spectacular talent, and I know he had some fuck-ups in that game, but he had to do things that the other quarterback just didn't have to do. Like, his ball, you could not tell that there were 40-mile-an-hour winds. You could not tell it at all when he just threw a straight, an out route, an in route up, down the seam. His arm strength is remarkable, and his talent, to me, is remarkable. His athleticism, his competitiveness. Like, what did I learn from Mac Jones that game? Not a fucking thing. Like, he just handed the ball off. Now, the Patriots, they are built, and this is where football, as things change, life and football and everything, it constantly is adapting and changing. It's like, I think there are some things that just are always going to stay the same. And clearly, when you can play defense, which the Patriots can really play defense, and when you can run the football, like that's never going to go away, I think, in the sport of football. And I think that also falls into the college as well, right? If you have one of the best defenses in the country, you're going to be in the mix. Even if your offense it doesn't have to be Bryce Young and what Saban has, but if you have an elite defense, look at Wisconsin this year. They fell apart early in the season, and just like you look up, and they're 8-4, 9-3 at the end of the season because they could really play defense. I think they ended up going 8-4 because they lost to Minnesota. But Jim Leonard, like, that shit works. Like, Belichick, it works. Now, it's not sustainable, and we talked about Jimmy G like this to just have games like that, but in a one-off situation, it's one of the most remarkable things I've ever watched in my own eyes, honestly.
Yeah, we'll talk more about it, so I'm not going to – there's a couple other things I want to say about that game, but it was I got to tell you, it didn't feel at times the way it actually was. And clearly, I mean, Buffalo, because they couldn't stop the run, 222 yards in rushing, 49 plays, 46 rushes for the Pats, 3 passes, as you know. Josh Dubow. Well, I'll get to some of the other stats. I did one thought I had coming out of it regarding Josh was just how well set up specifically in their division they are. I don't know if you saw the stat. I should have taken a photo of it before the game on ESPN. It was as the temperature goes down, Josh Allen's completion percentage goes up. Like, he's good in the cold and the wind. He said it's because he tightens up his mechanics and he takes less chances. He didn't play like he wasn't taking chances in the game. There were several times where he rolled out of the pocket, scrambled, not really rolled out, scrambled and tried to make plays on the run, and it almost made him. And just, it made me feel good if I were a Buffalo fan from the standpoint of historically, we're going to have to win games if we're going to really go all the way. And Buffalo's played in some cold weather playoff games in their program's history. You might have to play New England in a conference championship game one day. This guy can do it. So I feel good about it from that standpoint. The flip side is they play at Tampa this week, and the AFC is really hard. And if they lose, they're 7-6. And right now they're the 7 seed in the AFC. Indy's on a bye and is definitely a playoff team, I think. Should be. So Buffalo does have to win football games here coming up. They'll play New England again in a couple of weeks. They also still play the Panthers, the Falcons, and the Jets. So, Buffalo should be at least a 10-win team. I
was going to pull up the Chargers guys still have the Giants, the Texans, the Broncos, and the Raiders. So, like, the Chargers are what, 7-5?
Yeah.
I would say the Chargers are getting to 10. Wouldn't you?
Yeah. Well, John,
are the Chargers in the playoffs right now?
Yeah, they're the 5 seed right now.
Okay, so they're not. They wouldn't take anyone's spot.
No, but just think about this: of these 4 teams, one of them's not making the playoffs. Chargers, Bengals, Bills, or Colts. Somebody in that group is not making the playoffs. Kansas City will. Baltimore's in good shape. Tennessee and New England.
I know you haven't mentioned their name yet, but if Steelers play Thursday night, they'd be 7-5-1 and just they'd be in the mix. Their defense is good. I mean,
yeah, I know.
I just don't discount that whole operation. They survive. It's not pretty with old Ben, but they are fucking survivors.
I know. You're right.
Because they just did it against Baltimore. They had no business winning that game, and they won it. And I'll pull up their schedule. They got Vikings Thursday.
Beaten Buffalo already, by the way.
Then they get the Titans at home. Then they go to the Chiefs, Browns, Ravens. So their schedule's a little harder.
Pretty tough.
They almost have to win these next 2 games to have a fighting shot. We'll see the Browns, though. The Browns could just get KO'd, right? They lose this weekend to the Ravens. They're done. You don't even consider them a playoff team, do you?
No, I was not considering them a playoff team.
Niners are lucky they don't have to deal with all this bullshit because they would be fucked.
Browns are coming off a bye, whatever that's worth to you.
Yeah, I mean
they play Ravens.
Just isn't good.
I know, yeah, Ravens, Raiders, Packers, Steelers, Bengals. That's what the Browns have coming up. That's not easy.
So the Raiders are in. If they get beat by the Chiefs this week, bye to them.
Yeah, I mean, I've already bye-byed them once this year, and then they came back, so I hesitate to bye-bye them again. But
they'd be in trouble.
The AFC just doesn't give you. They play the Browns, the Broncos, the Colts, the Chargers. I mean, it's just some of these AFC schedules are just crazy. The AFC's crazy.
Well, the Broncos are going to be an 8-9 team that they're going to beat a couple of these teams that don't make it, and that loss is going to kill them, right? I'm just saying the Broncos are not going to make the playoffs, but they're not going to be like some 5-11 team or 5-12 team. No. You're going to look up and they're going to be 8-9, or even if they're 7-10, a couple of their wins will be. I guess maybe not. They've lost to a lot of people in the AFC, but they have taken out the football team and the Cowboys.
I know.
I guess they beat the Chargers.
They're unwatchable, but they win some football. How many? Oh no, that was Jalen Waddle. You told me has a bunch of catches.
86 to be exact.
Holy smokes.
That's pretty nuts.
That is nuts.
I don't think Ayuk has 86 catches in his career. I mean, no chance he does, right?
He might be close to that number. Did he have?
Yeah, he's got 95.
Yeah.
Sneaky 35 this year. I would have guessed like 20. He might be able to get up to that 55 mark.
I think he might. Yeah, like this might be a week. We'll see. We'll talk about Debo, but
what if Ayuk can get to like 60 and 6 touchdowns? Salvage the season.
Hell yes.
Salvage the season.
It'll be one of
those.
Honestly,
that number could be a little lower if he could just pull a Deshaun Jackson punt return out of his ass, which doesn't really feel like he's got in the bag.
Yeah. It'd be one of those years where maybe in 2022 he has a great year, and you go a breakout season, and somebody will say, no, the people who are really paying attention know that Ayuk's second half of 2021 was where it all came together. That might be what happens to him this year. But in any event, check this out. Josh Dubow. I knew we could go to Josh Dubow of the Associated Press. 3 pass attempts for Mac Jones in the Monday night win. The fewest passes in a game since 1948. 1950 and 1949, there were 2 teams, the Browns and the Steelers, each played a game without a pass attempt. In 1949, the New York Bulldogs won a 7-0 game against the Eagles. with one
You
pass
think that would have
attempt.
been a fun game to watch? Bulldogs versus the Eagles.
I mean, what are the chances? It was in September, so it might have not been freezing cold. Might have been sunny that
Probably
day.
would have been a nice night. Yeah.
And in 1974, the Bills had 2 pass attempts in a 16-12 win over the Jets. Nobody has lost with the low pass attempt number. I guess it's evidence that if you're losing, you throw the football. 3 pass attempts. The first, remember, was the ball batted up in the air and caught. Was that Jonnu Smith who made that play?
Yeah.
The second was like a rollout sideline throw, and the third, I think, was a screen play.
Underrated part, too, about his first pass attempt / completion. That was his only, he was 1-of-1 at halftime for 12 yards. Peyton pointed this out. I think he changed the play at the line, and Josh immediately screamed at him. Like, I don't think that was Peyton did not think that was supposed to be a pass play.
That's incredible. So by design,
there's a chance he could have got to halftime with 0-0-0s.
So you think that Josh called 2 passes in the game on Monday?
Well, I just think Mac, it's pretty clear. One thing Mac definitely brings to the table is, and this is, listen, we probably jumped over this because you can't quantify it. His mind is really, really high level for a 22-year-old at the quarterback position. To be able to even do what he's doing before last night at New England, that is really hard, right? No one argues. It's hard for veteran guys that, I was going to say transfer in, but in the pros, get traded, get, signed there, that go play for the Patriots, that playbook. There is no doubt in my mind that he, has the ability to audible shit at the line of scrimmage. And he sees 15 guys in the box. Maybe he did it, and that was like, not in this game, Mac. And he got yelled at. Josh lit into him.
Here he was doing the right thing all week, ignoring Peyton's calls, and he still got in trouble.
Yeah.
So what does it tell us about Mac Jones? Does it tell us that Mac Jones will never be the guy? Does it tell us that Mac Jones is in the perfect spot? I mean, I think you probably have to start there. This guy now has played for Nick Saban and Alabama, turned in a Heisman season, and then goes to Bill Belichick and the Patriots. Not every situation's created equal. We know that. And you could argue this guy has been in 2 of the most perfect situations for him that anybody could possibly be in. It's pretty incredible. Now, maybe because he was Alabama's quarterback, he became the Patriots quarterback, right? We know that Bill and Nick are very close.
Yeah.
We know that Bill, I think we could say this too. Bill, I don't think Bill has like some great desire to have some $50, $40 million a year quarterback. Like clearly Andy Reid wants, or like Kyle Shanahan has turned his attention to maybe once he didn't want to be that guy. Now he does. Bill's attitude is let me handle everything. That's his attitude with his assistants for the most part. And it's kind of his attitude with his team. I'll take care of it. You just do what I tell you.
Well, I would say this. The Bama guys that Bill has on his team are like football geniuses. Like Hightower, what position does that guy play? Absolutely everything. I mean, he's been on their team for feels like a decade, does it all for them. Damian Harris, is he sneaky, a more consistent? I mean, Josh Jacobs is awesome. Is Damian Harris a better just pure runner? Like, that guy is good. Like, that guy is really good. Now, he hurt his hamstring last night. Barrymore, the dude they drafted in the second round, do you know what John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan would do to flop that guy for Javon Kinlaw? I mean, they would give anything. That guy is unmovable. And then Mac Jones, he's been, you could argue, I was thinking about this last night watching it, and even today, like, that's one of the greatest landing spots for a guy drafted in the top. We've seen Roethlisberger before. Guys get drafted in the 20s and get to start. Like, let's say Jordan Love would have been better than he is, and like Rodgers would have disappeared and he'd take the job. Like, that would have been an incredible spot to just jump into. This is even better. They run the ball nonstop and they play elite defense. And their coaches, Bill and Josh. How does it get any better? Like, you could say, well, the Niners would not have been better. Their defense isn't even close to that. And Kyle ain't Bill. Not even close. Like, Bill's the greatest coach of all time. I don't know if Josh will ever make a good head coach or not, but it's pretty well established now. He is a great offensive coordinator, right?
Yes, I think he is. Vrabel is a little different. I don't know if Josh is Bill's greatest assistant ever. I think he's been Bill's most valuable assistant.
Vrabel never worked for Bill.
Yeah, it's a good point. He's not the same. I was thinking about this the other day. It's really odd. Most of Bill's guys, I don't think Joe's going to make it. Could come back. Most of Bill's guys get another job, get another shot, and then work in the media. I mean, Pioli, Weiss. I don't know. Where's Romeo? Probably doesn't follow that.
No.
But
Mangini,
Lombardi. Why do Bill's guys all quit football after they get their other shot? It's like, well, I can either go back to Bill or just fuck it. And they're just like, forget it. I don't know. It's weird. But Josh came back. And I don't know if Josh has been told. I'd be very interested. Like, has Josh been explicitly told he's the coach in waiting in New England? Or, could he get swooped by Bill's son? Or is Bill's son just destined to be Josh's defensive coordinator? But
I feel like Bill's son has a move in him. Like,
leave Bill.
I was going to say he just became the defensive coordinator at Ohio State, but I just saw Ohio State stole Oklahoma State's guy that Gundy was begging them to pay him like a big-time guy, which I feel bad for. Gundy always loses his sweet coordinators.
Every time.
That's
why he
time
started
Gundy,
hiring like JC coaches. He's like, forget this.
I know. If you just told me that Steve Belichick, now he probably doesn't want to go to college, so maybe an NFL job, but like I couldn't see Steve Belichick going to like the Vikings or something. Like why would you leave winning to go? But it does feel like he'll bounce to go to maybe even come back.
But why does he I mean, I agree with you.
Well, he's
but
not the defensive coordinator. Isn't Bill?
But nobody
the
is. Bill is. Bill is.
Yeah.
Because Gerard Mayo is not. Bill, just coach everything and then take over here.
I bet. Bill's.
And
like,
I'm sure Bill has
good.
told him, you want to be somewhere else, but you know what else you might end up? You might end up in Cleveland like I did working for Art Modell. You might end up with the Giants, but they try to force you to take the job and you don't want it. The Jets. You don't stay here. Well, why? What do you have to prove to anybody? Just win here. What difference does it make?
Belichick. When I look at most coaching staffs in the NFL or even college, they have like 700 guys on their staffs. Belichick's defensive staff is 6 guys.
It's Bill, who counts as 5 guys, and then 5 other guys. It's 10 guys.
Our guy Cole Popovich must have got the jab because he quit, but I went to their website and he's back.
Oh, or maybe they never took him off.
Hey, Bill, I got no booster, but I'm back.
Bill's like, fine, but we won't announce your return.
He does have Michael Lombardi's kid is the wide receiver coach, Mick.
Wasn't he with the Niners?
Patriots. He was Jim Harbaugh's assistant. Yeah.
That's right, Jim Harbaugh's assistant.
Which has got to. I mean, he's had Mick Lombardi. That guy's got some good stories. He was Jim Harbaugh's personal assistant, which is every head coach in the NFL has one, for 4 years, and now he's been on Bill's staff for several years. Like that's people. Like if you go to a dinner party, I'd want to sit next to that guy.
It's great stories.
Jesus.
So here's the thing with quarterbacks, because people love to talk about this and say winning is not a QB stat, but I do think it is in this sense. If you're the quarterback of a winning team, even if you're not the reason your team is winning, you generally keep your job, don't you?
Yes.
Like, Alex lost his job to Mahomes in Kansas City. Not normal. For the most part, as long as your team keeps winning, even if you're not great, you will keep your job. Especially if your team is coached by Bill Belichick and you're about defense and running the football. As long as this team, like, my point is, whatever Mac is right now, whatever his limitations are right now, he is going to get the opportunity to develop into whatever the best version of Mac Jones is. He'll get that chance in New England at this rate. I mean, they're the 1 seed in the AFC right now. Belichick, as I predicted in the offseason, was great value, is going to be the coach of the year in the NFL this year. Which, he could be every year, but by and large,
what if Kingsbury goes like 15-2?
15-2, maybe he will. You're right. That's legitimate because his fingerprints are all over the thing. But it's hard for Bill to be the coach of the year because people always expect him to be good, and that's not how you win the coach of the year award. In the last 11 years, 8 of the guys that win the award coach teams who had low expectations.
Well, what's a more incredible accomplishment? The Patriots being the number 1 overall seed, or the Cardinals being the number 1 overall seed?
Yeah,
Patriots
I think
underrated. Like that's pretty eye opening. Right?
Yeah, it is. But I think the Cardinals, if we track it back, like had a first round quarterback, cut him, traded him, and then drafted another first round quarterback, number 1. With everyone counting them out and them doing some unconventional things defensively. So they get a lot of credit too. Like Bill, is it that crazy that one of the greatest coaches or the greatest coach in NFL history had a good football team? I mean, with a good defense.
I think this would be
after they spent a historic amount of money in the offseason.
But I'd say in the NFL, it's not like baseball. It doesn't necessarily. We've seen a lot of teams spend money historically. Hell, I was on one with the Eagles. The football team did it forever. Sure. It does not usually equal. The reason he did it wasn't even necessarily because there weren't good players available every year. I just think he thought like it's not the right way to build your team. A little bit of desperation, but the desperation, like the guys he signed. To me, the most impressive thing, and this to me, Kyle can take some notes on this, is N'Keal Harry, who is one of the more polarizing first-round picks. Like, yeah, is he a good wide receiver? Clearly not. Did you see him last night? He blocks like he's fucking throwing around his pads like he's a linebacker. He destroys people at the point of attack. Bill, even a guy that he has to be like, if I could do this one over, I would do this one over. But he's found a way. Everyone hates him. They don't have any wide receivers. He still utilizes N'Keal Harry and somehow gets the guy to buy in to block. Now he cost them the one touchdown they gave up all game. Freaked you off his helmet. But Bill, to me, I'm glad this year happens, and hopefully it keeps happening. Now, we'll see in the playoffs. It's, the Niners did it the one year where you could win an NFC Championship game with 8 attempts. I don't think that's typical. That might be an outlier situation in the history of the game, in modern football. Like, I don't think Bill is going to be able to win the AFC Championship game with Mac having less than 10 attempts. Like, I don't think that's possible. I really think that's because they were busting multiple, 50-yard runs. He had one last night, but Kyle had 3 that game. That I have a hard time seeing that happen. So, my point is, they might not go to the Super Bowl this year, but if he gets the 1 seed and wins a playoff game, even if they lose in the AFC Championship game to the Chiefs or the Ravens or something, it's one of the more remarkable FU on back seasons that I can remember in a coach in a long time.
Yes, but I don't think we should be surprised by it. I don't think we should be. I mean, they were competitive last year.
Well, they have a rookie. They have a rookie quarterback. That's where I do give Mac credit. That's hard to do. To win
I'm giving everybody credit. I'm just saying we shouldn't be shocked when the greatest coach in NFL history makes the most of this situation with Mac Jones. I mean, clearly he values Mac Jones more than he valued the guy that he actually won some football games with last year in Cam Newton. So the question is, can you ever win a Super Bowl with Mac? And I don't know if the answer is yes to that question, because it's not a great sign when your quarterback is limited to 3 throws and only 2 of them you called. Because like you said, that's not sustainable.
Would the Bills trade Josh Allen for Mac Jones? Now, it's not fair because one guy's been in the league 4.5 years. The other guy's been 8 games.
No.
10 games. Right. No chance.
Would Bill trade Mac Jones for Josh Allen? Of course.
We sure?
Yes, because if Mac Jones was the Bills quarterback, what would the final score of Monday Night Football have been?
Oh, yeah. I see what you're saying. They would have had no chance because they couldn't run it and he can't throw it.
Who would Bill rather coach against?
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
But I also think
I was trying to be devil's advocate.
I just, with Mac, there's a lot of this is Tom Brady. Let's pump the brakes. They are playing football the way you play with a quarterback who eventually you'd like to replace. But if they keep winning with this guy, maybe he gets the chance.
I'm gonna push back on that. I do think as a rookie, you operate a little bit like the way you do when you're trying to replace a quarterback, just because you try to make it easy on him. Right? Like Kyle's doing, he's playing football with Jimmy Garoppolo as a guy he's going to get rid of. He tries to avoid. They're doing that. Part of it, it takes time to prove yourself, right? You want to make it as easy on him as possible, and that's what a good coach does. I'm just saying, their mindset with Mac is just to make it, and they just, the way they think, they do live week to week, right? I mean, Bill, the way he builds his team is big picture, but they're obsessed with winning that game. If Tom Brady had been playing in that game, I had this thought last night. He might have only had 12 attempts. He wouldn't have had 30, right? There would have been no need. He would have had probably a historical low in attempts, right?
Well, yeah, put it this way.
12 or 15.
If you had said if you'd done a pregame interview with any coach who coaches any team before that game last night, so Coach, what's the key tonight? What would they have said?
Run the ball, control the clock.
Run the ball.
Not turn the ball over.
Yeah, so I don't think you're right. We shouldn't damn all of Mac's abilities off that game, and I'm not. My point is, and I'm agreeing with your original statement, which was this is an all-time landing spot match for Mac Jones because his coach is so good, because his offensive coordinator is so good, because his defense is so good. The number 1 defense in the league by points right now. Bills are actually number 2. Because they're so good, he's going to get the chance to become the best version of whatever he is.
Yeah.
We are going to find out what Mac Jones' best is. We're going to find out. He is going to be, they're going to win enough games that this guy is the starter for the foreseeable future, even if they play that game once a year and he throws 3 passes once a year in that game, every year. But, I think anytime you play a game where your quarterback throws 3 passes, it tells us what you think, A. But on the flip side of that, let's not make that everything that Mac Jones is, because there's clearly something there with him.
What I'd be interested if you were sitting down, I don't even know if Saban drinks, is just having a conversation with Saban. Because Bryce was on the team last year. He didn't play. I mean, he was a redshirt, but he was in pads and standing right next to Mac and, I guess, Sark last year. Nick, what was your game plan? Clearly, Mac was better than you envisioned him being, right? He, like you said, he had a Heisman-level season. They were fucking incredible. What would you have done if Mac's like, I'm actually going to return? I don't know. Now, it would have been, obviously, Mac, to me, goes into spring practice, probably the fall, but you watching that kid, right? It's a little different animal.
He's going to win the Heisman, probably.
Probably in a landslide, right? But now, Mac was fantastic. Mac was, they would have been probably just as good. Now, it does feel their offensive line's a little worse this year. They lost Landon Dickerson to the Eagles, who got drafted, tore his ACL. They lost Leatherwood. So, even for them, you lose those guys. Like, not every next guy is a lock first rounder. But, sometimes those situations, I bet Nick's just like, I'm glad it just worked out the way it worked out.
He might have just told him to go and then told Bill, just take him in the 4th round. If he had not had as good a year last year.
Yeah.
Bill, trust me, just take him in the 4th and it'd be the same situation.
Because I remember hearing about Bryce Young when he was in high school.
Yeah, when he was committed
to
SC.
I think a lot of people did. He was a pretty big...
he was committed to SC. That was a big deal. Bill the Butcher on YouTube says, these two are so jealous of Jones, it's sad. I think so many quarterbacks should be jealous. There's so many quarterbacks who played in the league and said, man, if I only been in the right situation. Mac Jones will never say that, if I'd only been in the right situation.
Well, here's what I'll say. About Zach Wilson, for instance, is a much more talented player than Mac Jones. But, I don't think Zach Wilson, the Patriots would have been better this year with Mac Jones than Zach Wilson.
Yeah.
But if you put Mac Jones on the Jets, even though Mac Jones is probably a smarter player who just, was getting coached at a much higher level at Alabama, the Jets would still be equally shitty. Maybe a little bit better because he dumped the ball off instead of pushing the ball. Maybe not throw as many picks, even though Mac, pretty sure, has 9 interceptions. Didn't really even have the opportunity to throw one last night. And that's good coaching, right? You don't put your guy in a position where he's going to throw a pick. But, I put Mac on the Jags or I put Mac on the Jets, they're an abomination. Now, if I put Mac, I think the argument is if Mac Jones had been on the Niners and they had just got rid of Jimmy, whether they had to cut him or whatever, and they just gone all in with Mac, where I might hear you is the Niners, Mac Jones might be a better player than Jimmy. But if that's the bar, that's a pretty low bar. Because as we see this year, Jimmy's not that great of a player. Now, the difference is Mac would only be a rookie. He'd have a long way to keep improving. But, if Mac Jones had been the quarterback for the 49ers for 12 games, given what we've seen of Jimmy, I do think it's fair to say they might at least have one more win. Jimmy's been pretty bad in some big spots. Now, so they were dependent on Jimmy to throw some of these games, throw 35, 40 times.
They've had to ask him to do. I don't, we're talking about a fantastic defense right now in New England, right?
Elite.
So I think maybe Mac could be that, but I'm not convinced.
And they have to have one of the better running games in the league too. Statistically, I bet yards per carry.
Yeah,
attempts.
I'm trying to be very measured in my Garoppolo criticism because even though I think there are flaws, I do think he does some things that he does because he's a veteran quarterback. And Mac Jones just is not that right now. Now, maybe he could become better than him in that way. There are just so much of it is, what are your skills and can the place you're going make the most of those skills? And if you're on a bad team, having a photographic memory and knowing where to go with the football doesn't really serve you as well as being athletic serves you, right? If you're on a bad team, knowing where to go to the ball is irrelevant. If your skilled players aren't good, if you're going to have to score 34 points a game to win, so you're not going to win games. With Mac Jones' skill set as a rookie on a bad team, your skill set doesn't elevate bad players. But I think there are things that Mac Jones does that are the difference between being a good team and then maybe taking that next step. And that is what you get out of him in New England. So will he ever be the guy that can put a team on his back and throw 45 times? He might. I think every quarterback in the NFL that's like starting level, and I'd say Jimmy is definitely this, you can have 3 or 4 games a year where it's like, today we need you, and they can deliver, right? There are a lot of guys who aren't like franchise quarterbacks, can Taylor Heineke and Fitzpatrick, and like they can give you that from time to time.
What would you say, like a Rodgers or Mahomes? You depend maybe 12 out of the 17?
Yeah, if I said this is how we got to have to play the whole year, you go, we can still win the division and make the playoffs. Now, maybe we can't win a championship if we can't defend or we can't run the ball, but we can still win 10, 11 games.
I'd agree.
And I think because this team is going to win games, it maximizes what Max Jones's value is. And then you get the chance to build on that and build on that and build on that. And maybe you can pull things out of a person that you wouldn't be able to pull out of him if he was the quarterback of the Jags or the Giants or the Jets.
But also sometimes in life, there's nothing. I saw they asked Tiger Woods. Steve Sands was talking to him last week.
Sandsy.
Yeah, they asked him about his leg. And, he said, Tiger, do you feel you got pretty lucky in this situation? And he said, let me stop you. I didn't just get lucky in this situation. My whole life has been lucky. And it's, I bet Tiger could easily, I've worked for this. I created this. My life, I think about what I get to do now. If you hadn't existed, who fucking knows once I got out of football what would have happened? There's no guarantee anything. Sometimes being lucky, he's not lucky that Mac Jones is not lucky that he ended up at Alabama, right? You have to be so good as a 16, 17-year-old to have Nick Saban offer you a scholarship. Your talent, obviously you're lucky to get some God-given talent, but Mac wasn't even going there to be a starter, right? He was going there, they were just getting probably quarterback depth, and he was third on the depth chart, that the year that he ended up starting after some injuries and transfers. But clearly his work ethic and stuff, but he ends up at Alabama with an offensive coach, which I don't think he's a very good head coach, but Sark's a good offensive coordinator. Was with Pete Carroll, was with the Atlanta Falcons, was with Alabama, right? That's a good spot. And then he gets drafted by Belichick and Josh. Sometimes being lucky, it's not. I think a lot of people are insecure to say that because it diminishes everything that goes on, right? I think sometimes hearing
but I think
Tiger
anybody
say that,
that's had some success acknowledges their own luck or should.
Yeah, sometimes just being lucky is a good thing.
Well,
right?
and most things, it's never one thing. It's a combination of things, right? So he's lucky that Bill and Nick are tight. Maybe that helped him get drafted by the Patriots. He's lucky the Jets didn't love him. He's lucky there were other quarterbacks in this draft, right? In some ways, he's lucky that he wasn't better. Otherwise, he'd be on the Jets right now. Alabama's starting quarterback, Heisman Trophy winner, is the fourth.
He didn't win it.
But you know what I'm saying? Heisman is the 5th quarterback taken in a draft. 4th or 5th quarterback taken in a draft. That's pretty crazy.
He was the 5th.
Well, why? Well, because there's 4 other. It's just, yeah. It's just like Tom.
Do you know what's crazy?
Would Tom would be walking around with no chip on his shoulder if he'd been a first-round pick by some shitty franchise? Better off being in the 6th round, 199 of the Patriots.
Did Tua win the Heisman?
Tua.
I don't know if Tua did. I want to say he did. I feel like he did maybe a sophomore year. They put the thing around his neck when he went up there. But I was going to say Tua won it. Then Devontae won it. And Mac was right there. And then Bryce Young's going to win it. They're having a pretty good run right now at Tuscaloosa, knocking off some Heismans.
Kyler, Burrow, Devontae. But I think Tua might have been wearing the leg.
You're right. He was wearing in the crowd. Yeah. Oh, yeah. His year that I guess he would have been in the mix was Joe Burrow's.
Was Burrow's year, yeah.
And then even the other year I think he was good was Kyler's year, right? Because Jalen had already gone pro. Or no, Jalen was after Kyler.
Jalen was
Jalen's-
after Kyler, which was Tua's
That year with
Tua's
Burrow.
last year.
Yeah.
Or second to last year?
Yeah, Jalen. So Kyler wins it, goes pro. Oklahoma needs a quarterback. Tua takes over the job. Jalen then transfers to Oklahoma. And that was the year 19 that Tua and Joe Burrow met in that huge game. I think the game was at Alabama, and Joe Burrow, then they scored like 40 points in the first half. But then Alabama sneaky kind of came back in the second half. I mean, there were 7 million, first-round wide receivers in that game combined.
I know.
And Najee and Clyde, who's sneaky coming on.
My last point on Mac for now is I think 2022 is going to be a really interesting year, and there'll be a lot of Mac takes out of this year. What's clear is he's set up. Remember, he was not even really their starter in camp. It was like this back and forth thing. It looked like Cam Newton was going to be their opening day starter.
Well, he's right? The only guy of the group that's played in games that matter of the 5 rookies.
Well,
they are going to be compared
but I'm just saying now you're going to have this whole offseason with Josh McDaniels and Bill Belichick and a full year as a starter for Mac Jones. And who knows? I mean, I do think there's a very high probability that Mac Jones takes a big step in 2022 from 2021. Just given, like, think about
team. Yeah, none of those guys are going anywhere. What if he finally hits on a wide receiver in the draft? What if he just drafts a second-round wide receiver that just turns out to be, I don't know, Debo or Justin Jefferson? Like, what if he does actually land that guy? They already got all these other guys under contract. That's all he needs to do is like, hey, guys, we have one off-season goal. Can we just find a wide receiver for this guy? Because we've seen him play with these guys. They've had a lot of success. Like, I'll give Miami credit on this. Part of the reason they got Waddle, because they thought him and Tua had a great connection. Like, they were right on that, right? Like, you don't luck into 86 catches through 12 games. Like, that's not – like, this is beyond, like, luck or just, like, they have a good connection. Like, that works. Yeah, I mean, 86, they got 5 games left. No mathematician was going to have 120 catches as a rookie. That's remarkable.
On a team that doesn't even feel like they're that explosive?
No. I mean, what – I guess Jefferson had the record last year. But – it's more understandable when you watch Justin Jefferson why it worked. He's bigger. Waddle's small. Whenever I do
Tua
see
has
clips of Miami,
fewer passing yards this year than Sam Darnold.
Actually, he's going to pass Jefferson at 88 last year. He's going to pass him for sure.
Fewer passing yards than Sam Darnold.
Well, I'm pretty sure that Waddle was 86 catches and like 700 yards. I don't. It's not like he has 1,000 yards. But let me double check that bad boy. No, he has 850. That's not bad.
Where does that put him? Do you have that ranking right now?
Well, he was tied for third in catches. In yards, he's got a bunch of guys ahead of him because there's already a bunch of guys. Like Debo, wasn't Debo already at 1,000?
Yeah.
Like for yards, for example, the wide receivers. Yeah, I mean. He's not even like the top 4 guys. Debo's at 1,000. Devontae's at 1,000. Jefferson's at 1,200. Like Jefferson's just dude's a Cup's got 1,400. But the 86 catches, yeah, he's way down. Waddle, I don't even see his ass. He's 15th
in receptions.
In yards.
Oh, in yards. Okay. Sorry.
In receptions, though, he's tied for second with Keenan Allen, Tyreek Hill, and Jalen Waddle.
And
That's
Cooper Kupp has like 100.
Cooper Kupp has 100, yeah. Literally has 100.
Has 100. Incredible.
So Waddle has more catches than guys like Chris Godwin, Devontae Adams, Justin Jefferson, Stephon Diggs, who clearly is really good.
John, before we go any further, let's tell the people about Indeed. Indeed. Yes, Indeed. You need to hire, you need Indeed.com/ham, Indeed.com/ham, Indeed.com/ham. Indeed.com/ham, where right now you get a $75 sponsored job credit when you upgrade your job post at Indeed.com/ham. Indeed is a hiring partner that gets you what you really want. A short list of quality candidates as fast as possible. Think of yourself like Rob Mullins, the AD at Oregon, with the signing day coming less than 7 days away, and you need a new head football coach. So what do you need? You need to figure out who your candidates are. You need to pare that list down. You need to interview them, and you need to hire them. And that's where Indeed helps you. Don't struggle on your own to find quality candidates. Let Indeed be your search firm. Indeed can help you hire the right people right now. Indeed.com/ham. I'll just keep going. Indeed.com/ham. Pick the skills that are important to you from over 135 assessments and get a clear view of your top talent's abilities faster. Is he an OC? Is it QC? Good recruiter? Defensive coordinator? Does it all? Do I have Belichick on my hands? $75 job credit at Indeed.com/ham. Indeed.com/ham. The number one source for hires in the U.S. according to Talent Nest. A franchise quarterback won't shine without an all-pro O-line. You're the quarterback. Get you some big uglies. I don't know if that's how they want them to be referred to it, Indeed, but they're big beautifuls at Indeed.com/ham. Offer valid through December 31st. Terms and conditions apply. You need Indeed.com/ham.
Could be small uglies. We don't discriminate.
Podcast also brought to you by Liquid IV. Liquid IV. Promo code HAM. Get you 25% off anything at liquidiv.com. Liquidiv.com.
Yeah, I mean, you and I have been loyal users since they sent us 7 million pounds of Liquid IV product, and it's fantastic. Energy multiplier. They have a hydration multiplier. You just take a swig of your water bottle, pour it in your water bottle. It adds you hydration, nutrients, electrolytes, potassium, more than even a banana, more electrolytes than, an orange. There's a reason this stuff works. Drinking, you're a little hungover, slam one of these, you feel fantastic. Just go to liquidiv.com, promo code HAM, get yourself 25% off. I cannot recommend this stuff enough. Liquidiv.com, go check it out.
Yeah, right now, 2 juicy flavors are back, John. Pina colada and golden cherry hydration multipliers, the 5 essential vitamins. Just because you're not sweating doesn't mean you're dehydrated, especially with the holidays coming up. If you're traveling, if you're heading up to the mountains, maybe you got some elevation. Whatever it is you're doing, maybe you're getting just emotionally taxed by your family. You're not sleeping. Kids are on vacation, right? They're not in school. They're up late. And it's fraying you bit by bit by bit. 1 stick of Liquid IV, 16 ounces of water, hydrates faster and more efficiently than water alone. Plus, they got watermelon and strawberry and lemon lime. Grab your favorite Liquid IV flavors nationwide at Walmart or get 25% off when you go to liquidiv.com and use the code HAM at checkout. That's liquidiv.com, 25% off anything with the code HAM at checkout. Get your better hydration right now at liquidiv.com, promo code HAM.
Let's do it.
Did you see somebody tweeted us today? They photoshopped a ham on Cordell Stewart's body, and they said, this is all I think about when somebody says /ham.
I saw that. I saw that someone forwarded me this rant Fred Smoot went on and about RG3 with his tell-all book, and he called him the ugliest quarterback because the guy, RG3 was claiming that he got like sexually assaulted, and he was like Fred Smoot and LeVar Arrington were like, I have a hard time even what is he even talking about? Yeah. And then he kind of started making fun of him, like, RG3, you're the ugliest quarterback in, like, the history of the league. But then he started talking about, the teams that always had the ugly quarterbacks were the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's like, Big Ben, Bradshaw. He's like, even Slash wasn't that good looking of a guy. Fred Smoot's just crushing people. But his point on RG3 was like, as a player, once you get a little older, you always want to have the one team that just is going to welcome you back. It's like, hey, in town, like, hey, you want to come to a game? And it's like, RG3, that is your only opportunity. You won Rookie of the Year there. You're going to just shit on that. They're going to hate you. The Ravens don't even know you existed, even though you played on their team for a year. Like, I don't know if that's the right tactic to take, because everyone, do you notice ESPN is pumping RG3? It's like, guys, he claimed like Cincinnati got a raw deal. It's like RG3's coming out with some takes out of left field. Have you seen?
He's been doing games for them. Have you noticed that?
I immediately mute whenever I see that. But to me, the games he's okay. He's not as I've seen him on some studio shows. Not that I watch studio shows, but in my timeline, he has like clearly someone got in his ear like, Robert, you know how to make it this company? Fucking just come with some curveballs out of left field. So he'll be like, the best rookie quarterback. He's like, I'm telling you, we haven't seen this guy play a snap, but I'd give a max right now to Kellen Mond. I know him. I practice with him. Best. He's like,
wait, that's a real take?
No, I'm just saying that's like
Oh,
RG3's move right now is doing shit like that.
Yeah. You got to you got to get on TV as much as possible as you're him because you got all these suits. You're still in playing shape. You got to wear them somewhere. Might as well do games. Might as well be on television.
Well, the game, I'm sorry. When I see Robert Griffin III, I can't take him seriously. Like, it's just like
I can't say I've even heard much of it. Maybe I haven't watched him.
Yeah, they throw him on some studio shows.
I mean, I've seen him there, but I haven't been like, oh, let's check out this take real quick.
It's like the problem is for Robert is that most people look at you and your career as kind of a clown show. Because like Orlovsky, okay, he ran out of the back of the end zone. We can make fun. But it's like he was a lifetime backup quarterback, and clearly people just like he was a good teammate. People liked him. Like Robert, you were kind of viewed as like a toxic human being. Like your dad told Mike Shanahan what offense to run by your second year. Like that's and listen, is it fair to get defined by yourself at 23 years old? Probably not. But didn't he leave his pregnant wife or something? Like it's just I
don't remember what the deal was. I mean, was it really? No, this can't be right. God, did it feel to you like he played 8 years in the league?
Well, I mean, how many years did he play for the football team?
4, but didn't play in 15.
Which would have been Cousins' time, probably.
Then was out in 17 after his year in Cleveland. Came back to 3 years in Baltimore.
Oh, yeah. Sashi Brown signed him.
I forgot about that. I forgot about the year he was just out, I guess, recovering.
From what?
I don't know. He didn't play in a game in 15?
I think he just got out because he sucked.
Felt like it was over, right?
Really, he had one good year of his career, right? Rookie season.
Yeah. I mean, year 2 was 60%, 16 touchdown passes, 12 interceptions. Sorry, 16 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, no rushing touchdowns. Year 2.
Was he the full-time starter his third year? Did he start 16 games?
Now 7 starts.
That was the beginning of the end. Then no fifth-year option. Then
really, it feels like 13 was kind of the beginning of the end. He led the league in pass attempts in 13. Led the league in yards.
Cousins was pretty lucky that he began starting because he's a mid-round pick on his 4th year of his contract, and then all of a sudden he's going to be a free agent. It's like, What do you guys want to do with me? It's like, you're going to let me go? They're like, fuck. And they just franchise him. It's just like his contract was over, right? Because he came in the league the same year as Robert. So once he began playing, it's like, well, hey guys, we're on year 3.5 here. I don't have a 7-year deal. They kind of got a little unlucky the way the timing of it all played out. I guess what were they going to do? Not play the number 2 overall pick? Like they had to write it out those first couple of years. But then once it was over for Robert, Cousins came in and was clearly like way better than Robert. That was the other problem. So you're replacing the number 2 overall pick, and then you come in and you're just way sweeter.
You know, I was gone for 40 seconds.
No, I just kept talking about Robert
Griffin
and Cousins.
Good job handling. I got this.
Someone's asking in the chat, does liquid IV taste good? It does. Is it like It's not like sparkling water. It's like it'd be like the vitamin C packets, emergency. Kind of like you just pour it in, slam it. The one I have has like a watermelon type flavor. I like it.
All right. So I think one thing that was going around, you tweeted this. We were on a text thread with somebody who made the point as well that Monday Night Football, that the Patriots played Kyle Shanahan's dream game on Monday Night Football.
Yeah.
I mean, do you agree with that? Not agree with it. You said it kind of tongue in cheek, but kind of serious. What do you think Kyle Shanahan's dream game looks like?
I'd say the NFC Championship. Maybe not 3 attempts. I mean, to me, part of that game, it's easy to make fun of it. It was 20 degrees and 75-mile-an-hour winds, right? It was weird because, like, on TV, the winds, it didn't feel that windy until they, like, kind of showed shots of flags and stuff, right?
Yeah.
I think his dream game is not, like, Andy Reid's dream game is 700 yards in the air. That's not arguable. Like, it would be 50 points on the board and at minimum 6 touchdowns. Maybe he'd get a running touchdown for Clyde or something, but it's throwing the ball. I think we don't need to really argue this one about Kyle what he prefers, and that's running the football. So did his dad. Like it's the family motto is the zone runs, right?
Right. I guess what I'm saying is that part's not debatable. But
I think he wants a sweet quarterback more than maybe Bill. Like I don't think Bill cares. I do think Kyle does care. That's where I see where you're going.
Like 2019, the 49ers were 29th in pass attempts. They went to the Super Bowl. Could have won the Super Bowl. They were 13th in yards, though. So when they did throw, they were really good throwing the football.
But weren't they the number one rushing team and their defense was one of the best?
That's right. And I think that's fantastic. But I don't think here's what I don't think about. These two things, it's kind of they go hand in hand. Part of the reason you don't throw the football sometimes is because you can't throw the football. Throwing the football is a great way to get the football down the field. And running the football is also a great way to get the ball down the field, but it requires more things to go right because by and large, the plays you run, they don't go as far as the plays you throw. Throwing the football is a more efficient way to get the ball down the field as long as you can limit mistakes if you're not turning it over. But getting
the check, that's true.
Like nobody wants to be in a tie game kneeling on the football with 45 seconds left at the end of a half. You'd love to have a quarterback that you can trust to get the ball down the field in 45 seconds or a minute or whatever. So I think, yes, Kyle would love to never have to, every coach I think would love to never have to throw the football and just run the whole game, maybe with the exception of Andy. If you're like, that means I control the game. My quarterback never turns it over. He doesn't check. He doesn't read to the third play. It's just here's the play, run the ball, let's go. And let's take their soul. Because I saw Mitchell Schwartz tweet this the other day, and I think he's right in the I've heard football people say this over the years, just talking to people. I'm sure you have too. Like part of running the football is about establishing a physical imprint on a game. This is what we are. At the end of the day, football is a physical sport. You can't play it without physicality. And so if you're going to be the more physical team, you do something to the football game by playing the game that way. Right. Agreed. Even if sometimes statistically throwing the ball makes more sense, there's just a style of football, physical. You just have to be a physical football team to win. You just look at the college football playoff over the years, right?
But in the NFL, probably more than college football, unless you play in the Big Ten. December games and January games, when you just look at a lot of the top teams historically the last 20 years, right? New England, Pittsburgh, Baltimore. Cincinnati's had a lot of playoff teams. Green Bay, you're talking Kansas City. Like the NFC probably has less. Seattle, they've been good. Like you go in there, it gets cold and wet. Like it's just part of being able to run the ball is the elements, like you saw last night, factor in. The weird part is for Kyle, in San Francisco, if his team is consistently a high-level team, the weather's not really going to play that much of a factor, right? But for a lot of these people, like for Bill Belichick, he cannot avoid the weather. For the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Ravens and Andy, the weather is part of what they're doing. Now, I do think Andy's unique is he's coached in the weather his entire career, so I think he's just more comfortable. Like he knows what to call, I guess, in certain situations. Like he's seen enough in Philadelphia before he even got to Kansas City, like what would work or what wouldn't work.
Yeah.
I do think that factors in, probably more than college football, right? December games and obviously playoff games in the NFL.
I agree. There's no
Does feel
champion.
the NFC beside Green Bay, it's probably a little less impactful than the AFC. Part of that, the NFC East with the Giants and the Eagles have been shitty the last couple of years, so you're never going playoff games there. Atlanta's been indoors forever. Tampa's warm as hell, and the Saints is an indoor place. So there's a division that's been out of it, and then the South, which has produced a couple teams over the decade, has either been indoors or it's really sunny.
Well, to that end was funny, just as an aside, watching the Pac-12 championship game Friday.
And the Bears suck always.
Yeah. Although the Cardinals just won there in 35-degree temperatures, so even though the Bears aren't a playoff team, it is like the Cardinals kind of proved something this week. They could play in that weather, although they did it against the Bears. But watching the Pac-12 title game on Friday, it hit me like this game feels bigger to me than it used to. Now, maybe part of it, the crowd was better because it's in Vegas.
It was sweet.
But I think part of it was it looked like all the other championship games. It looked like the Big 12 championship game. It looked by being inside. I love an outdoor game on grass, but an indoor game in a sweet modern stadium on artificial surface That's what the Sugar Bowl looks like. That's what the Peach Bowl looks like. It's what the college football playoffs look like, unless the game's at the Fiesta or the Rose. It's what the national championship generally looks like. It's what all those preseason big games when they play at Jerry World, which is where the Big 12 plays their title game, the Big 10 title game in Indianapolis, the Mercedes-Benz Dome where the SEC title game is. All these big college football games are indoors, with the exception of the Fiesta and the Rose Bowl and when those games are CFP games. But all the playoff games are inside games. So that's another reason
one conference championship game was outdoors. I saw someone tweet the ratings. It was by far the lowest viewed game, which was the ACC championship game that's played at Carolina Stadium.
Oh, yeah, ACC.
The SEC had 15 million people. The Big 10, I think, had 9. The Big 12 had 8. And where's the Big 12? Oh, they play in Jerry's World. And the Pac-12 had like 4.5. The ACC was like 2. And honestly, I tried to watch a little bit. I had it on the second TV. I changed it to another game. Like, it is a hard watch. Their crowd though had like what the Levi's crowd used to have. I do think the Vegas thing was a huge hit for the Pac-12,
and a lot of Utah fans, which helped. That's only 5.5 hours. Anyway, back to Kyle. So yes, I think fundamentally, but I think what we've seen in the drafting of Trey Lance, the joke being that's what Kyle would love to do. Jimmy Garoppolo, that's the offense. That's the game he'd love to call with Jimmy. But the drafting of Trey Lance is the acknowledgement that you can't just rely on that forever. You can't just rely on being in total control of the game as the head coach and running the football all the time. Running backs get hurt. Your running backs get hurt. Sometimes your quarterback has to be able. And Josh Allen, like if the Bills had won the game, what would have been the story of the game instead?
Josh Allen's arm penetrates the wing.
Yes, that's right. That would have been the story. Like Josh Allen, his team got dominated on the ground. Absolutely dominated. They got the run game, they got scrubbed. And Josh Allen out of the pocket, making plays, finding a way. That would have been the story of the game.
Well, I text you last night. I do think there is just as productive but less violent on your running back is the deep handoff over the pitch/toss does feel like Kyle sends people to injured reserve. It's like that game was equally as physical on the ground, but doesn't it feel that just like the fullback, Mac, deep handoff for the outside run to the edge is a less violent play than the toss sweep? Because the toss sweep feels like an absolute war of collisions and on both sides, and which is awesome. But goddamn, the Niners lose people for 2 years. I watched everyone. The only time the Patriots had an injury running outside on the edges the whole night was when Damian Harris's hamstring tightened up. Other than that,
after
every guy
like a 15-yard run, right?
Yeah, every guy would just pick each other up on both sides. It felt like, God, it's a pretty clean game. Kyle's toss sweeps feels like someone's going to die. Because I think you get extra room to run. Like when you're running on a mesh point, I have to hit you. On the toss, I'm gaining depth. And then I'm seeing it. So I'm getting like extra room to get some speed. Kyle's got to figure out a way to run just do what the Patriots did. I'm not saying get rid of the toss because I think that's Kyle's favorite play in the playbook in 2021. What would you say his favorite play in the playbook is so far this year? The toss. Yes. He loves the toss. I mean, it's the first Kyle's game plan, because in fairness to him, it's worked a lot. It's like, is my toss going to work this game? Because if it is, then I'll just run it 10 times the first quarter. And if it's not, then we'll just try some other plays. But get ready. To me, the number one thing, like for the Bengals, protect the edges on that first 2 drives of the game. Because he's going to run the toss at minimum to both sides. Over under probably be 5.5 in his first several drives. Because all he has to do is hit 1, and then you're immediately getting 2 more, so you're at 3.
Yeah, is he going to start the game calling the game the way he called the game after Garoppolo's interceptions, where it's just like, he is not throwing the football right now, right?
But he started that game like to start the Rams game, to start the other games. He just started the game, the Minnesota game. Like he'll just start like that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. The hope is that he gets. I think his hope is that he gets a 2-score lead and never throws the rest of the game.
Well,
but that's not ideally what. I mean, that's not. When he had Matt Ryan, he was a top 2 throwing offense.
Well, it's like, okay, you're playing Cincinnati this week. Let's just assume the weather's going to be okay. Like just a 50, cold Midwest day. Here's what Belichick self-scout would say. Listen, everyone thinks the toss is coming. And listen, I don't tell you not to run the toss because if Elijah Mitchell doesn't have a 7th concussion and 4th broken finger, hand him the ball. But what if you just, on the first play of the game, threw a deep bomb? Do you know who would not see that coming? I don't know. Nobody, because you would never do that.
I predicted that was coming last week.
Part of what Belichick's strength is, and you and I talked about this before we jumped on, is how unemotional he is to any given play or any given scheme. It's like, I'm just trying to win the game. Like, there is no debate. Kyle is emotionally tied to his offense. I'd even say this, like, what is Josh McDaniels' offense?
Well, ideally, it's the same as Bill Belichick's defense. Just find a way to use the people we have.
Yeah. But if I gave him tomorrow...
Like, what's his identity? If he were the head coach?
But if I gave Josh McDaniels... Now, you could say this for any offensive coordinator, but if I just gave him Justin Jefferson and Devontae Adams, and I took away his tight ends, they would immediately just change their offense, right? I think it would be hard for a lot of coaches, because a lot of coaches, and this to me is the Patriot way truly is, like, there is no, we have to know everything. And I just wonder, like, as Kyle adapts, and we'll see this with Trey, can he just incorporate things that, like, I give Harbaugh credit. Now, he's not the offensive coordinator. He's just the head coach. But he clearly, once they got Lamar, like, we just got to change our whole thing around the guy. Right? Because for 5 years with Flacco or whatever, they clearly looked not like they just, Harbaugh wasn't tied to any offense. Like, could now, Kyle did it once upon a time as the offensive coordinator with his dad, with Robert. They just ran the pistol, remember?
Yeah, I think
he has the capability.
I think he will. I think the question is, can he develop Trey Lance into being the guy that can, much like parenting, eventually you let the child go and they're on their own and you take the training wheels off, and that means that they can ride all over. Will Trey ever become that guy who can play outside of Kyle's control?
And you said it on the last podcast. Ultimately, now we can argue all day long if he's doing the right thing, and I think it's fair to say that, going all in on Jimmy, it'd be one thing if they were 8-4 or 9-3. It'd be like, hey, listen, veteran quarterback, you got to do it, try to win this year. Fuck, worry about next year. They're 6-6. You lose this game, all of a sudden it's like, was this for naught? But he's done everything possible to build this thing around Jimmy's strengths and a lot of his weaknesses.
Yep. That's part of what makes the Trey Lance era so fascinating, is how does it look different, right, with a different quarterback? Brady on the stream says the Bills clock management, wasting timeouts in the third. Believe me, Middlekoff and I were texting about, or you sent me a text about that. That's two guys that had the Bills +3. And Belichick going for the 2-point at the beginning of the game were examples of why Bill was out coaching the Bills. Was your impression that Bill went for 2 there because they were driving into the wind at that point, and that going that way, was that why you thought it was? Or
at the time I didn't quite know, right, because they hadn't flipped fields and stuff. But yeah, I mean, as the game went on,
the ball going the other way was the one that got the opening kickoff into the stands.
Yeah, so he's kicking into the wind, which, if the extra points now, which ironically Bill fought for, right, to move it back.
I thought of that during the game.
But he doesn't care. See, he's like, I'll fight for this. This is the rule. This is what's going to happen. The difference, though, is with Sean McDermott, I will defend him a little bit on one of them. And Peyton mentioned this to Eli. Should they start using their timeouts in the third because they're with the wind this quarter?
Interesting.
And one of them, the clock got down, and they were in the red zone. Do you fall in a game like that where the weather's playing a crazy condition? You're only getting in the red zone so many times. When you do get into a compromising where you're up against the clock, to me, in a 28-30 game, yeah, it's like, come on, guys. Do whatever. But in a game that for 15 points was going to win it, I can't crush you on your quarterback not looking at the clock and you calling a timeout to bail him out.
Yeah, part of it was, you're right, to defend the Bills for a second, it felt like in the third
missed
quarter,
a challenge, right?
One more, if you could get a touchdown, that we'd win the game. We'd win the game. And they would have. A touchdown would have won them the game. And would have at least gotten us a push. Although the Patriots probably don't kick a field goal. Well, they might have kicked the field goal still. They would have, actually, because that was beginning of the fourth quarter that Nick Folk made it 14-10. So, yeah, that's actually not a terrible point. Like, we're going to need the touchdown, and we're going to need, at that point, it would have been 11-7. They're down 11-7. So a touchdown makes it 13.
14. Yeah,
13. So you would have needed the extra point. Yeah.
The difference, though, is they didn't throw it that much in that first half, that it was clear by the fourth quarter. It's like, hey, Josh can. It doesn't matter which way you're going. Like, he can throw it in this. Like, would have been fascinated to me, and we didn't get to see with Mac, but like Mac and Jimmy have very similar arms. What would it have looked like if a guy like Mac, Jimmy, Alex Smith, probably would have fluttered, right?
Into the wind. Alex was there. They should have had him throw a few balls.
He did. He was playing catch with Randy. I saw him Instagram story it.
I didn't see that, but
he's I was gonna say a good follow. I mean, a good follow. Not a lot of content coming from all Alex.
Is Debo, what's up? I mean, your guess right now. Debo said last week he'd be back this week. Is Debo Samuel back for the Bengals game right now? What's your guess? Tuesday, December 7th.
I would say he does not play this week.
Doesn't feel like
I'm not expecting him to play.
Which my first reaction, if that's the case, is I get it, because what's more important is that you have him for several games. I do think they should be able to win this game without Debo, but obviously he's incredibly
It's a pretty big blow. He's a huge key to their offensive success. Like we saw last week, it's very difficult without them. For them to get to 23 points, Kittle needed to have, has Waller or Kelsey had a 180-yard game? Like, that's probably one of the better games a tight end has had all season. Like, that's what it took. A remarkable game from Kittle, who's just scoring sweet touchdowns, fucking breaking tackles, who's just a man-child. It's hard to, I can't expect him to have back-to-back games of even 150 yards. I mean, hell, if you said, hey, Kittle gives you 100 yards, if I said 100 yards, you'd sign up for that. 150 yards? How many times is Jefferson or Devontae Adams have back-to-back games? It's difficult. Because to me, the game plan, if you're the Bengals, and Kyle mentioned this yesterday about the final plays. They were scheduled to Kittle. He doubled both times. Mm-hmm. I would not wait to the red zone to double Kittle. I would double him all game long everywhere he goes. And a double, it's not like basketball where two guys just stay on you the whole time. It's more of like a bracket. That's the way kind of football works, with one guy in front of you, one guy behind you, kind of, mirroring you. To me, if I was on Cincinnati's coaching staff or a scout or whatever, hey, I haven't watched this team, take 85 away, and obviously, play the run well, it'll be very, very difficult. He's not going to dice you up with Sherfield and Juwan Jennings.
No, but this is maybe an Ayuk game then.
Well, that's fine.
Maybe that's what it becomes. Well, not if you're playing Kittle the way you're talking about.
But if one guy starts killing you, it opens it up a little bit. That's the way. It's it's one of those basketball situations.
A 7 for 80 game.
Because don't you feel how Clay really kind of came on as okay, we go all out to get Steph. And then eventually Clay just fucking just destroying people. It's well, what are we going to do? Right?
Right.
Ayuk hasn't got to that point yet where he can be treated like Debo and Kittle. That's where it's he can just easily cruise as the third guy when they're all together. It does get a little more difficult for him, even though I think the guy's really talented. I mean, I've been very bullish from what I've seen.
On Ayuk.
Quarterback more than him, yeah.
He's got 3 touchdowns this year, which, again, I know what I've seen. I felt good about Brandon Ayuk, too. I'm not judging him by that number. But
he's never going to be a big red zone target.
No.
If he's going to have 6 or 7 touchdowns on a season, my guess would be a couple, probably half of them always come outside the red zone.
Yeah.
Maybe not 60, 70 yards, but 35-yard post or, make a guy miss. Maybe an out, break a tackle, sprint to the end zone.
His biggest games this year, 6 for 89 in a loss to Arizona, 7 for 85 in a win over Jacksonville. Obviously against Minnesota had a couple of big plays, felt more impactful than 3 for 91. But this would be a great week for 7 for 85 and a touchdown against Cincinnati. Because you're right. Kittle is not, you haven't had a defense prepare for a Niners game coming off of a Kittle performance like that this year.
I actually think, and I had this thought last night, if Belichick's going to get rid of N'Keal Harry at the end of the season, I could see the Niners trading for him. Obviously, you wouldn't trade much for him, but he blocks. And I remember them talking about him. They liked him a lot coming out because I think he blocked. Obviously, they got the right guy in Deebo Samuel. But I could see the Niners getting their hands on N'Keal Harry as a little reclamation project because they do kind of like that bigger body type. That Kyle.
Is he better than Juwan Jennings at this point?
Well, N'Keal's a top 5 blocker in the league outside. You see that guy last night? Just crushing people.
Yeah. I give him a lot of credit. You're right. You give him a lot of credit for sticking in there. Now, maybe he doesn't really have a choice, but
how many wide receivers they just want to fucking throw it around?
Nobody does, but he might not have a choice. It's like Bill's like, hey man, here's what's going to happen. I'm not going to trade you. You're going to do what I want this year. And maybe you'll do what I want next year. And I'm going to reward you for it. And the answer is like, oh, really? How are you going to reward me, Bill? And the answer is with 10 targets. N'Keal Harry has 10 targets this year.
What's his catch to target ratio?
8 to 10, 80% catch rate.
Isn't that pretty good?
Well, it's better than the 50% he had as a rookie.
Yeah, it hasn't been a smooth transition.
So
to the pros.
I don't know. I think it's got to be an Ayuk game. Especially, we'll see what the Bengals with Joe Burrow's health is like, but they can make big plays on that team. And you're down your best cornerback this week. Burrow's health is a big part. Like, can Burrow throw the ball with a formerly dislocated pinky?
Yeah, you just got to pray he's got mallet finger. I actually hope he's healthy because I do enjoy watching them.
Yeah, well, I know.
Mixon got banged up in that game too. I'm telling you, that guy's a really, really good player. I mean, he is, the kind of the core top guys, right? The Derrick Henry, McCaffrey gets mentioned that way, and he is that talented, but he's always injured.
Yeah.
But Dalvin Cook, Nick Chubb, just like the best running backs. I don't think this guy gets quite the love, but I think he's every bit. He has 12 rushing touchdowns this season.
Wow.
He has the other thing, he can catch the ball. How many catches does he have? I mean, he has 26 catches. So he's going to end up with 35 catches, probably 1,400 yards, and like 15 rushing touchdowns to go along with. He's a dynamic player. And obviously, Jamar Chase. I read this article in The Athletic today. For him, just because the standard's so high, even though he's actually having a pretty productive season, and he's had some really, great games. But he's also, last week, did you see the highlight of the ball that bounced off him that the Chargers picked off? He's just had some plays where I think he's been hit or miss catching the ball. But him, Higgins, and Boyd, if you just combine their productivity, those three. Now, granted, Joe Burrow's they're playing with a good quarterback. Like, they're playing with a quarterback that, how many teams in the league would immediately trade their quarterback for? 20?
Yeah, I mean, maybe more.
It'd be high. Yeah, it'd be high. Like, John Snyder's like, hey, wait, Burrows, can you guys take Russell for? I'll take the young guy. I went to his pro day, and Russell got mad. Actually, it was Josh Allen's pro day, but yeah, just their offense is going to be a problem because their guys can all catch, including their running back. And last time I checked, the Niners aren't exactly LOB covered unit.
No. But, I mean, they will. I think Burrow has. Do you have Burrow's number? I think he's double-digit interceptions this year.
Yeah, he's got a little like. I was going to say Josh Allen, hero. He always thinks he can just get them out of it, right? You see a lot of his highlights are scrambling around. To me, he's got like a Tony Romo vibe to him, which is fun.
More talented, I'd say. You agree with that?
He's got 14 picks.
14 picks.
Do you know how many touchdowns he's thrown?
28?
Yeah, 23.
20 is high.
28 would be high. 14 picks is a lot. So he will turn the ball over.
You got to get a lead on him, which is the story of every Niner game. I'm not breaking any news.
The Niners just better be, like, if they're on, it's at home. He is, in this offense, given their secondary, to me, would be capable of, like, throwing 4 touchdowns. I don't think it would be crazy if you were a daily fantasy player. Take him. Now,
take Burrow.
Their offensive line is pretty bad, so Bosa should fucking destroy them.
They got after.
It's gonna be tough.
Last week.
It's gonna be tough.
They got after Herbert last week. They really got after Herbert last week.
I did read that or heard he was missing 3 of his 5 offensive. Like they had 3 backups in the Chargers. Yeah. I think Burrow leads the league in picks. He does. Leads the league in picks.
Just trying to make plays, John. All right. It is time. It is time for another. Oh, you know what? I don't think where's my, I meant to grab the shave it or save it little, logo for the kickoff here. Do I have it? I do. Do I? Sorry. Nope. That's not it. Anyway, Shave it or save it. Why don't you tell the people, John, about shave it or save it and what it means to this show?
Well, you got a bald guy and you got a guy with great hair, and here's what we need you to do. If you're thinking about it, and I know a lot of guys are, in their 20s, sometimes early 20s, sometimes late 20s, sometimes the lucky few doesn't hit to your 30s. The very, very lucky few get to their 40s or 50s. But if you're thinking about it, and we all go through it that lose our hair, the insecurity of what should you do. And it's hard. Like, your wife or your girlfriend or your mom, like, it's hard to get that advice, right? It's really more of a guy thing. And we are here for you. So send us pictures of the front, side, and top. And when you do the top, not just the front, but the back too. You get that missing spot in the back. And send us pictures, and we will tell you whether to shave it, or save it.
All right, everybody, come on down. Today's contestant is Travis. Travis sent us a DM, and his question is shave it or save it. We got a picture of Travis hanging out at the beach here. He's in the shade, John, so he's not wearing a hat. Presumably, looks like he's got quite a bit of red going on maybe on that on that smooth dome. Oh, he's a redhead, so I'd imagine this is an SPF 75 situation here. And here is the situation with our buddy Travis, who DM'd and said, what should I do, guys? He said, here are 3 different photos. In fact, we ended up with 4. One is from the top down with my son. You can see thin hair in the middle. One is without facial hair, and one is with facial hair. Is it time for me to shave my head and grow my beard when I'm out of the military? Or is it time to save it? So let's take a look at some of the pictures we'll be working with, what Travis was able to share with us. We had our first photo here, kind of a side photo. It gives you some of the what we like to call the power alleys there.
That'd be one if, he has a son, so maybe he's married. If he's married, if he was single, that would be one, like, would be your Tinder profile. It's like you're on vacation, you're loose, but you're good looking, but you got the water in the background, you're ready for a good time,
Yep. This photo says I go places.
Yeah, I can afford to travel to sweet destinations. Then this would be his next photo.
Yep. Here's another photo. He's this looks like Army to me. Him and Lieutenant Colonel Pope there. I'm not sure. But we got high and tight. This looks like a 0 on the sides. Doesn't give us a great look at the top, but it does. We'll get back to this photo. Here's the photo he mentioned with his son.
Also redhead.
Where he's got his head down and he's baiting a hook there. And it gives us a little bit of a view of what we've got on the top and kind of how his hair gets combed forward. You can see, let me get a little closer here. We can see a little bit. Shoot.
No, you can tell it's definitely thinner up top. And I think when he had shorter hair in the photo with Lieutenant Pope, which might be his wife or might have just been a fling at the Marine dinner, that he's receding, and you can tell here he grew it out and kind of moves it forward right there. That's a move.
So you think right here what we're looking at, he's covering up some of the power alley there with the forward comb.
Well, I think I'm gonna listen, Travis. I have nothing but respect for your service. You are a badass being in the military, but you obviously got some hair problems going on because right now you obviously are receding, and can you tell the thickness is not really there up top?
This is he's got less depth than the 49er secondary here, John. Very thin.
Yeah, if we wanted to use a war analogy, you're surrounded right now, and I don't think you have help coming, right?
And for reference, he said, look, this is me before when I had the beard. I'm thinking about shaving it and growing the beard out. Here's a photo of this. This photo is he's staring right into my eyes. It's making me a little uncomfortable.
Imagine him with like an AR behind a tree, and you're the bad guy. Travis would be coming after you.
Yeah, he looks like God. That is 2020
ready to
right
mow
there.
down the bad guys.
So that's an idea. This is definitely a shave candidate. I will say this before as we go through it. I think he's got you know better than me. I think he's got a very, very good dome here. This dome would work bald. He's got very good dome structure, I would say. Don't you agree?
Honestly, Travis, and I'm a heterosexual male, your facial structure is good. I actually don't like the full, long, crazy, like beard he had going.
I agree.
I think you have a good, like when you did this full shave face right there, even if you just have some stubble, I think you could just shave the head, maybe not even with a Bic razor, but just go relatively short, like a 2 or a 3,
Yeah.
and rock some stubble, rock the clean shave look. I think he'd look pretty good.
Yeah, here's the medium beard, just to give you an idea of the medium beard. I think the medium beard works much better than the Charlie Blackmon I play baseball beard.
Yeah, the
baseball
Charlie
beard
Blackmon, or I'm a backup guard for the Minnesota, Vikings.
Yeah,
look.
nobody wants to see the rice from your burrito 2 hours later. The medium beard works, but I'm with you. Here, I'm going to do something here.
I think that hair in
John.
that picture where the water's in the back, like it's just much shorter. I think he pulls that off pretty well. And I think a lot of guys that are holding on for the last couple innings, which may for him be 4 or 5 years, you could rock that for a long period of time. That look. You agree?
This right here. Yeah, I don't think this is a must shave as we talk it through, because I think he can rock a hair that doesn't appear like he's holding on to something that he doesn't have. He's not covering it up. But I also think, let's do this. For those of you watching this, I'm just going to scroll this photo up so it looks like he's bald. There you go. That's a look of what he would look like,
Travis,
bald and clean shaven. I think it works because you're right. He's got like you. He's got looks like he's got a hint of dimples there. Good looking guy. I
agree.
That works right there.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't feel obligated to do the beard thing,
No. Shave your, and then what are you in the Marines? You're like, yeah, actually I was. It's a great conversation starter.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, his eyebrow, he doesn't have, because of his hair color, he doesn't have like
I think the long beard looks like, he was going off on a mission or something. It just doesn't, it's just whatever. I think the look he had
I wouldn't do that
at the Marine Ball.
Yeah,
this is a good look.
This is a good photo right here. This is a great photo.
Lieutenant Pope's all over you.
It's a good photo because it's like, are you in a relationship with that person? Is it you just showing other women like, look, I'm cool with women. Women like me. Good face, bow tie. Obviously a service member. So you got a lot going.
And that photo is also a good little, primer to other women too. Because even if we're not in a relationship, you can tell we got chemistry and we have hooked up. So I got that type vibe.
Yeah, and like responsible. Here I am being a good dad.
Yeah. What does it look like he's doing there?
He's baiting a hook, John.
Oh, he's going fishing. Yeah, out, just to have quality time with my son. No big deal.
Yep. Looks like they're on the base in maybe in Carolina, somewhere in the probably the South, maybe.
Think how much sweeter it is to be at like Fort Bragg than Travis Air Force Base in Vallejo, Fairfield.
Vacaville, yeah.
It's like, I would much rather be at like the Carolina Shores than where are you stationed? Oh, Fairfield, Vacaville area. It's like, where are you? Oh, Pendleton, San Diego. Hey, can I get shipped down there?
I know. Yep, there are some good bases and there are some not as good bases. Having been in the military, I mean, not me, my dad, having traveled. Let's see, John, a few comments here. I'd go full beard and shave the head, says Brady. Miss VKC. Yep, it's time to let it go. Thank you for your service. But you don't need the facial hair. Jonathan says, drop the top, my guy. So I think this is not an emergency. We don't need to sound the alarm and get everybody on the deck of the battleship here and shave it. But I think you could clear the deck and it will work. But the more we talk about it, to me, this is actually more about the shave. This is more about the beard, it turns out, the more we talk about this.
I agree. I think you look good, cleanly shaved.
The one other thing I'll add is if he sticks with this haircut where he doesn't shave the top but keeps it like a 0 on the side, people will say to you, "You're the military?" You're like, "No, I was. Not anymore." But you might just get that question a lot, which, if you served honorably, is a good question to get asked.
Also, I know it's his photo, but it also has the feel that Lieutenant Pope is the one that initiated, like, let's take a photo vibe kind of going, doesn't it?
Lieutenant Pope's holding the camera, I would say.
Yeah.
A Colonel Pope.
Maybe he took Colonel Pope's Facebook page. Colonel Pope, if you're single and she's single, you might want to hit her up. Looks like she's vibing for you. Maybe she's your wife. I don't know. She has good work.
Not that.
That looked like headed to basic training trying to get his mind right.
You're better looking now than you were then. Put it that way. I mean, you know.
Well, people get better looking when they age.
There you go. So that's another edition of Shave It or Save It. So I think we're saying this is like a 3rd and 2 situation, a 2nd and 2 maybe. You can run the ball, you can throw the ball. Not urgent.
I like the short hair look. I wish I would be able to pull that off. I just don't have enough hair up top.
Yeah, it gives
I gladly
a good sense
would.
Of what he look like bald. You know, gives a good sense
luck
of
to you,
what
Travis.
Like bald. Yeah, good luck, Travis. Thanks for your service, and thanks for participating in another edition of Shave It or Save It. It's all done with love and appreciation for each and every one of you that we've had now 4 Shave It or Save It's. Every single person, thank you for your bravery in letting us judge you. Armchair quarterback your head. So there you go.
Adios.
You don't want to get onto the no, I mean,
you want to do that? You want to do that on Friday? Let's do that on Friday.
Yeah. Let's do that on Friday or Thursday. Really, Thursday. It's in a couple days. Maybe Oregon will hire a coach by then. Maybe not. Last question. One last one for you.
What would your timeline? Do you think they get a coach by the signing day coming up?
I think they got to. I mean, signing days.
They just lost a commit.
I know. I think they've got
problem of having all the 5 stars. Those guys, a lot of people start calling them.
Yeah. The good thing is, a lot of jobs are filled right now. So it's not like you're competing with 6 other programs that are, Notre Dame has hired, LSU has hired, USC has hired.
That's a problem. They're recruiting the same kids as those guys. Those guys want that player. I saw they lost the tackle.
I mean, when it comes to
he committed to USC or something.
I mean, when it comes to hiring the coach,
no,
you're not.
I know what you're saying.
But you're right. The other side of that is everyone else is. I think you got to move quick. Like I think you got to move by the end of the week.
I wish you could just tweet out, "Don't fucking talk to any of our players, or we'll not be able to do anything legally. But just don't do it."
Well, the flip side, right? Oregon is still a hell of a place to play football. So you could definitely go. You know what? I'm committed there. It's still sweet, but as we know, people always say, "Don't commit to the coach, commit to the place." But it doesn't work like that often.
One scary part is like, what if you look up and 17 of your sweet young players are transfer portal? You're like, oh my god.
Well, but I do think as much as people are upset about the early signing period kind of making this very difficult, the portal does help offset that a little bit. Because if you nail the hire, then you can get some guys through the portal, even if you missed out on some guys, during the early signing period. Not ideal. We know the fundamental best way to build a program is with, players that you can develop over the course of 3 years. But
yeah. Saban uses transfer portal?
Everybody's using the transfer portal.
Yeah.
Just you don't want it to be your main mode of, talent.
Like, Nick, where do you get your transfer portal guys? Yeah, we just 3 schools: Clemson, Georgia, or Ohio State. If any of those guys want to transfer, we'll take their calls. But that's it.
You think there's like a high level portal where like Ohio State, Georgia, Alabama?
I think so because the sweet wide receiver Mechie's right hand guy is an Ohio State transfer. He just was in that room, right? It's just like they're not like, oh, Fresno State's got a guy thinking about leaving. Like Nick doesn't waste any time looking at it, right?
Well, who was the guy that left Fresno State and went to Oklahoma a few years ago after Derek Carr left? Wasn't it after?
It was Jalen. He was an NFL player.
What was his last
name?
Jalen Saunders. Yeah.
That was pretty remarkable, right? That's a good thing for your program.
For those who don't remember him, think Deshaun Jackson.
He played for the Jets. I think he was a 4th round pick.
No. But that was the idea. By the way, real quick, Kenny Pickett, who was one of the finalists for the Heisman. Did you see his fake slide the other day in the Pitt game, the ACC championship game?
Yeah, I saw it.
Do you think that play should be what should happen on that play? Nothing? A flag, or just play blown dead at the spot of a fake slide?
Well, it's impossible to go flag because then, when a quarterback will be 10 yards down the field and running and do the fake pump fake, which is clearly you don't get flagged for that.
No. You don't get
sometimes
flagged
a running
for that,
back will fake people have done a fake pitch and a guy will stop. Like, part of life is being able to ad lib on the fly, right?
I gave him so much respect for the play and the athleticism. Some people said, I don't think it was on purpose. I guess the reason for the flag would be if you just blow the play dead at the spot where the guy fakes the slide, then you're never de-incentivized from doing it. You don't want guys faking. You don't want guys sliding and then getting crushed by a defender who thought they were faking it. And so you don't ever want quarterbacks to fake a slide. Kind of like
Well, I'd
flopping.
argue what Wilson has been, what Russell has turned into with his slide is no longer a slide. It's more of like kind of baiting you in, hopefully you helmet to helmet me. Have you noticed that
he
the
just
last couple
sits,
weeks?
like last second.
Yeah, and then he just kind of hits the ground, but he doesn't slide. He kind of gives himself up, but he doesn't really.
Yeah.
It's more fucked up than what Kenny Pickett did. I think Kenny Pickett just kind of ad-libbed on the fly. Like, I'm kind of going to do this. Then he realized I got a little room on the right.
If you're going to do it and you're only going to get one shot at it because the next time you fake it, you're going to get blasted, you better score a touchdown on it, and he scored a touchdown on it.
It was an awesome play. Awesome
Fresno
play.
State has hired Jeff Tedford, finalizing the deal now. So,
Kenny, I almost said Kenny. Tim Skipper, defensive coordinator.
are we seeing that yet?
That's a pretty good hire. You know,
Jeff
I've seen
Tedford?
it
Hell
before.
yeah, it's
It
a great
worked.
hire. It's an incredible hire.
It worked. They got, I would say
Kalen
the Dogs,
DeBoer was his assistant coach.
I'd say the Dogs are very, very lucky to have a high-level Pac-12 coach, the winningest coach in the history of Cal, being an alumni there and clearly just kind of like it. Like he's just, I don't need to prove myself. Because why would he not be? I guess I don't know if Oregon would even hire him.
Yeah,
but
part of it is like, and I say this respectfully, if he was in total in top physical condition and hadn't had to leave, is it 3 jobs? Did he have to leave the Tampa job,
it's
the Fresno
more than
job?
2.
Yeah,
I thought he
maybe,
quit a CFL job too.
That's right. So he's kind of his circumstances have led to this. Can he coach them in the bowl now? If he takes
Didn't
the job?
all their coaches leave to go with DeBoer?
Yeah, and I just mean he should. Everyone. I mean, I don't know how similar everything is. I mean, he was the head coach there when. Was all the terminology the same as when he was the head coach there?
Yeah, I don't know. I would imagine very similar.
To me,
Hayner-
all the
Hayner
bowl
stay?
games would get more interesting if they were all coached by coaches who have only been with the team for 2 weeks. That would make bowl games more interesting. Like Bob Stoops versus Mike Bellotti. I'd be like, all right, let's see what this looks like.
I saw they asked Bob Stoops, like, what does he think of the early signing period? He's like, I don't really like it. He's been on the job for a week.
Are they asking him to sign players? Because that's insane. I guess not anymore.
Well, he's just giving a lot of press conferences. I mean, he's available. He's just, if I'm him, I get a lot of my opinion. Hey, I got some opinions. I got some takes. You see how much, maybe I just follow a bunch of Oklahoma accounts. He is so happy taking all these pictures in these guys' homes, just he's wearing the shit out of the polo, guy. That guy is, you talk about ride or die. Now, I bet he'd say, these guys financially changed my family and their kids and their kids' lives. But it's
a king in his kingdom, John. And he gets to be the king again.
That's true.
Because I talked to Mike Bellotti once. Yeah. I asked Bellotti once, like, it must be hard when you spend however many years he was at Oregon, 15 years as the head coach.
95 to 08, I looked yesterday.
Okay. You spend that long, you're the head coach. Rich Brooks, they'd had some highs, but you build this into what it became. And then once you hand the keys over to Chip Kelly, and then it's Helfrich, and then it's Willie Taggart, and then it's Mario Cristobal, and then it's whoever, it's not yours anymore. It's like your childhood home gets bulldozed and somebody else gets to build whatever they want there. And it's not your home. And he said, yes, it's very hard to have that level of power over a football program and then have no power anymore. And they treat you well and you're allowed in the building and all that, but it's just different. And so here's Bob, who, we know it was hard for Bob to give it up. And now he gets it back for a little bit. Like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's sweet.
By the way,
he has but the one thing I don't know is Bellotti. Does he still go to games? Like Stoops,
yeah,
like
I
a
think
season ticket holder.
Bellotti went to the Pac-12. Bellotti's around all the time. Big
Okay.
Yeah. Oklahoma City, John, news release. Following the sudden, this is from Senator Bill Coleman. Senator Bill Coleman has decided that he would like to honor the final 3 inches of westbound State Highway 325 as the Lincoln Riley Highway. Quote, I felt the state of Oklahoma needed an appropriate goodbye to the former head coach whose sudden departure left many in shock, including a team of young, dedicated college players. I found the tiniest section of our most desolate highway to pay tribute to Coach Riley's exit from Oklahoma football and the state. It's only fitting as this is the last 3 inches one sees before leaving our great state headed west. Nothing like the bitterness of Southern or Midwestern football.
So
departure.
that by no means is supposed to be like a positive thing.
No.
That's a major middle finger.
Yes, you give somebody 3 inches of anything, it's not respectful.
No,
Whether it be lasagna.
I'd imagine Bob Stoops has a street named after him in Norman.
Yeah. I would imagine so.
Well, Lincoln.
This is why you give an interview on the way out of town, John, like Mario Cristobal.
It is.
All
Problem
right.
is Lincoln just kept his coaches there recruiting for him. Kind of fucked up.
Smart. All right. On that
Adios.
note, thanks for hanging, everybody.